to make sure.
Okay, regular session Nogales Housing Authority's Board of Commissioners meeting, 5 p.m. Tuesday, January 24th. 5 p.m. Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, City Hall Complex. Call to order. Pledge of Allegiance, can you please rise? Councilor Workers, can you take the honor?
I take allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I just wondering if you said anything.
No, I usually don't unless you want me here first. Well, I can stay here.
Okay. Okay. No call to a public. None? Okay. Discussion and direction on monthly housing board of commissioners meeting. Mr. Thompson?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Robert Thompson on behalf of the Nogales Housing Authority. I know a couple of days ago, a week ago, on the regularly scheduled session of council, we had a little bit of discussion as to when we should plan to have these Board of Commissioner meetings. We did a little bit of research, and we're just trying to clarify what the Board of Commissioners would prefer. Our bylaws typically say that we should coincide them with council meetings. And therefore, if mayor and council choose to change the council meeting, we would just adapt to that. That's pretty much all I have on my end, but I understand that as the chairman or mayor, you have full discretion on when you would want these meetings. I think that's what Mr. Machado had somewhat not directed, but informed us. So I'm just trying to clear that up, when the Board of Commissioners would want to meet. On my end, we're open for whenever the commissioners would like.
My thought is, correlated with one of our two meetings, and, I thought it would be best to do it on the second meeting of the month, which is the third Tuesday of the month. Third Tuesday of the month. That was my thought, and do it, 5 o'clock, unless you feel there's more time needed.
Absolutely.
And that could be adjusted as we hear from you. But is council good, or want to have any discussion or talk, any say on being able to have our commissioners' housing meeting on the third Tuesday of the month? I know there'll be obstacles here and there that we could move as time comes. But if we do it on the, 5 o'clock as right before our second meeting of the month, I think we should, you good?
And Mr. Chairman, I don't know, perhaps Mr. Machado, should I draft up a resolution just adopting everything to include this discussion, so then this way we have something to follow for the future, or is the discussion here today good enough?
This should be.
This should be good enough? Thank you.
Just discussion, don't need to vote on it or anything, right? Or
If you want a motion on it, you go ahead and do it, but I don't think it's really necessary. If that's a consensus of the commission.
so we're all good with the third Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. before our second council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item number 5, presentations. Presentation on remodeled apartments. Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, again, Robert Thompson on behalf of the Nogales Housing Authority. I put up a little quick PowerPoint up there as long as included some slides on the actual agenda. It's just a little bit of, I guess, recognition to what staff has been doing to get these apartments looking to. If I had to compare what we're doing now to any other city in Arizona, I would say our apartments are looking really close to what you would find in the Phoenix metro area. And I know this firsthand as one of my sisters moved recently. And some of those ideas that we brought back were actually from apartments in the private sector. So with that, I'm just going to show a couple of pictures here. We've gone to solid core doors. Yes, they're a little bit expensive, but they will last a lot longer, 3-4 times longer than your basic hollow doors. They got some panels on there. Our hardware is all into nickel, so that'll last a little bit longer. It looks cleaner, looks fresher. We've gone away from your traditional 8x8 tile and put these long, 20 some odd inch wood looking floor tiles. Those flex a little bit more. We do have 2-story apartments where the subflooring is wood. Some of those flex and, they crack. So with this, we should have minimal impact to those. In other words, we won't kick away an 8x8 inch. Now we got a full plank. So that's a really nice, and they look fantastic. Throwing that out there. Cabinets, we used to have replace these with particle board type of material. We've gone to solid wood. So that's a big plus. They should last, another 20, 30 years. So we don't have to revisit those unless there's abuse, and in which case Housing Authority has policies in place to protect that. The bottom floor, that's the one with the concrete to your right there. We've put in 18 by 18 ceramic tile. That should last a lot longer. You're in conventional linoleum or, poly type of tile. Those are set in. It literally does take a jackhammer to get them off. If anybody's ever done tile work, you'll appreciate that these are there forever. Sinks, we gone into that swan neck type of sink, single handle, stainless steel or aluminum, deep well sinks. We even put the soap dispensers on there. That's just a depiction of what they're looking at right now. Used to be the old conventional, one faucet thing. Before you know it, they were out and they're done. So with this, I think we can all appreciate that we have at least a 10-year faucet. It's best to buy quality than it is quantity. And just as a side note, we were able to find those at a very good discounted rate. So we went ahead and purchased a lot of those to replace faucets that are outside of the remodeled units. So that's going to be the standard throughout the Housing Authority at this point. Again, another picture of the panel doors, flooring, bigger angle. As you can see, that's the second story of one of our 2-bedroom units. The picture to your right, you'll see LED lighting. We've gone away from your conventional fluorescent or incandescent type of lighting, and we went to LED. Those gives us about 100,000 hours of light. It reduces utility consumptions, so it reduces our payout, and it reduces the tenant's payout as well. So I know the city, we've been moving forward to a lot of LED. And coincidentally, those same similar lights there, if you flick the switch twice, it turns into a really cool night light. It's got a little halo up on top. So those are little things that we've been progressing and getting to. Sinks, again, solid wood construction, better faucets, better everything. We went into the longer style commode versus the old-fashioned or traditional round. The only thing that I think we're going to change for next go around is the 4-light fixture. I think we need to find something a little bit more modern. That's a little bit too conventional at this point, but we'll take whatever we can at this point. Showers. In the 70s, when these apartments were built, of course, the thing was cast iron. They are heavy, and I know Vice Mayor knows that some of our subfloors would dip or flex, and that creates water seepage issues. And that in turn creates mold, and that in turn creates, other stuff that could affect the residents. So we went away and got rid of that. We're going into your fiberglass type of flip-in tub, and then everything around there has your waterproof or water preventive type of wallboard. And then we have Again, the same 18 by 18 tile with newer faucets that are easier for us to fix, repair. And those should last, again, 10, 15 years, I hope. We're actually, even now, we're replacing some of the original faucets that were installed back in the 70s. So we went with the same type of quality because we know it works. Aside from that, that's all I have on the remodels. There's more to come. Yes, sir.
Are you doing this on the make-readies, or are you setting aside apartments and doing remodeling?
So these are vacant, and we remodel those as we assess them. And if they require a remodel, that's what we do. One thing that I saw in the creation of the current budget, or the one that'll be coming up for the 23-24 housing budget, we saw that there wasn't money allocated for turnarounds or make-readies. So I'm requesting some money to do that, to bring in contractors to be able to do what we did in a much quicker timeline. So it'll be paint, placement of cabinets and stuff, but we do have separate line items for those in our budget. So we could mirror it.
On this picture that you showed, are those remodeled, or are these make-readies?
Those are remodeled 100%, everything.
And you have an outside contractor doing that?
We have an outside contractor, sealed bid, open in public, and the commission voted on the current contractor who's turning these over to us July of last year.
What about make-readies?
Make-readies, we
In-house?
have a deficiency on those. We're working on those in-house. I am petitioning HUD in our newer budget, or the upcoming budget, for some allocated funds for that so we can have a quicker turnaround. Okay. And I would be getting a contractor as well.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Just want to make a quick comment. I was lucky enough to get a tour of these apartments recently. The work is outstanding. They did a really good job. These apartments, based on my real estate experience, would go for a pretty penny out in the private sector. So they did really good work, and whoever ends up in these apartments are going to enjoy them for a long time if they take care of them. That's the caveat. Thank you.
Good point. Mr. Thompson, on the expression that Mr. Gradius, Commissioner Gradius made on the taking care of it, how much responsibility do we give the tenants? You turn in a beautiful apartment to them, and what's the responsibility of, or how often do you check them that there's no damage on them?
So we do.
When they leave, what's their responsibility of what they received and what they are turning in?
So of course we do charge a deposit. I believe it's running at $250 right now per unit. We do an annual inspection. So when the lease is up and before we renew the lease, we go and do an inspection, make sure things are in order. And number three, I should say, maintenance has a big role in this. So if they're called out for a repair at any one of these units, or any other unit for that matter, and they see something broken, needs some repair, replacement, they're entrusted to go ahead and create a work order, and we've automated all that now through iPads technology, and they'll create these work orders and attach pictures. If it's something out of everyday use, we'll be more than happy to replace. Things break because you use them. But if it's abuse, and I always say that there's a difference between use and abuse. If it is abuse, our housekeeping policy takes effect. We will give them notice. We will fix the problem, of course, especially if it's a safety or a health issue. We will fix it, and we will charge them for that. What gets charged? We charge them labor cost, and we charge them material cost, and that gets attached to the rent. So they are responsible for it. Now, if a tenant leaves before we can intercept them, or they just abandon a unit or what have you, and that does happen, they automatically forfeit that deposit. Now, again, $250 is pennies, but that's what we're required to charge. I mean, we're trying to provide affordable housing, and a huge deposit probably won't work. So it'll deter people. But yeah, the tenants are responsible for abuse.
Okay. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Thompson, is that okay with ceramic tile and those fancy sinks and all that?
So justification was it'll last. If I need to repair it, if I need to go and touch it twice, I need to replace it. So what we did here, we took a extra step forward and we said, hey, for the cost around these projects, it's best to provide quality versus the quantity. Mr. Chang, I don't know if you recall him, if he was around when you were at the housing, but he used to work, he retired, alongside of Marta. And he came down and physically assessed these units, and he was actually surprised at the tiling, at the workmanship and everything. He agreed on what we said. Justification was, it's going to last longer. It'll be forever, or as close to it as we possibly can. So the investment in the long run is probably more, it's probably better off than the traditional type of tiling and stuff like that.
What's the average cost to remodel one of these apartments?
So it depends on the bidder. I can talk about the current contractor. It's broken up into, of course, 5 different bids, right? 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 and 5. We haven't had a need to do 5 bedrooms, so I can't give you an estimate on that. But a 1 bedroom runs anywhere between $25,000 to $27,000. 2 bedroom, about 30, 31. 3 bedroom, 38. And the bigger ones, the 4 bedrooms, take a little bit more, but not exceeding 40,000. And again, that changes. Hardware cost, inflation, everything changes. So that's the norm that's been around. But we have seen some estimates well exceeding over $100,000 in these type of projects.
It's expensive. Any other comments on the presentation of remodel apartments? Thank you. Next, a presentation on Binational Community Center. Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, excuse me. I was asked to do a presentation or an update on our efforts at the Housing Authority Gymnasium. For those who are not aware, the gymnasium sits on the corner of IOOF and Western Avenue. It's a 2-story building that houses several offices, storage, and a basketball court. One of the rooms in the second floor actually houses a gym, right? Treadmills, weightlifting, stuff like that, and a computer lab, and what we've now converted into an office. The idea came back in June of 2022, I believe, where I think then Councilmember Lopez had directed the group who was looking for a place to live and provide services for the city. And I have them present here. I have the president of the group, Mrs. Ana Rangel, and Vice President? Maria Elena Delgado. So before I get into the show and tell type of thing, I just want to talk about where it comes from. So their group, their initiative, their committee is part of what is known as a leadership course. Part of their passing score is to establish some sort of community event, right? So Chicanos por la Causa, and backed up by the Mexican Consulate's office, hosted this. And there was 20-some people, part of the committee, who went through the leadership course. And one day we sat down to discuss what we could do with facilities that we have, no different than what we did with Circles of Peace at our community room. So the idea was, if we create a community center where, number one, tenants can come in for services, educational, wellness, fitness, and recreation, and open it up to everybody in our community of Nogales. Now, mind you, the Nogales Housing Authority services everyone in Santa Cruz County. Our footprint is throughout Santa Cruz County because we do deliver subsidy vouchers. Patagonia, Rio Rico, not too back, right? But Sonora, Elgin, all those areas. So our footprint is huge. It's big. They came in with an idea saying, hey, Robert, could we use one of your facilities for this? We want to offer English courses, which has been successful. We want to offer citizenship classes, again, ongoing and successful. We want to offer Zumba courses, ongoing and successful. We want to offer yoga, ongoing and successful. And we recently had a couple weeks ago a small basketball type of, I guess, camp, and it's still ongoing. That's been successful. Last week, we opened up our computer lab. So now we have introduction to computers. Everybody involved in this does it out of their own free time, out of the kindness of their heart. And these people are actually certified in some way, shape, or form to be able to provide this service. Mexican Consulate's office provides us with citizenship courses. English classes provided also by outside members who do that on a regular basis. Computer course, we do have an individual, young man, 22, 23 years old, U of A grad or soon to be, doing this as well, all out of the kindness of their heart. We opened up doors in October 20th. We had a reception. We invited everybody. We did what we could to make this inviting. Before we opened doors, the committee here did surveys. And what we discovered when we surveyed the general area of where the gymnasium is that 96% were willing to participate in a program like this, 96.7%. And the others just didn't have a care. 96% is huge. So we decided to go forward with this. We discussed this in 2 commissioner meetings, one in August and one in October of last year. Direction was to continue. We have. So with that, I want to go into what we are actually doing and how it all came to be. I know, Commissioner, you raised your hand. I don't know if you had a question or not. No, they're actually incorporated in the agenda. But if you need one, I can probably ask. Okay. So this was the idea to get it, branded per se, conceptual. This is what ended up happening. So we just tagged it as the Centro Comunitario Los Nogales because it serves everybody. Their vision, working towards the development of immediate educational, recreational, and cultural programs that kickstart work ethics and integration of our culture. Sorry, I have a typo there. Everybody there are the graduates of the leadership course, to include the 2 ladies here. And this guy right here, Ricardo, he works with Chicanos por la Causa, and he right here is the brains behind the leadership course. So what's cool about this is these individuals had a vision to do something. They were looking for a place to do it. We happen to have that. So we work together, we partner, we get it going. Here we are, a couple of months down the road. Their mission, to offer educational tools that focus on the development of our binational community. Values, teamwork, leadership, integration, community service. There they are doing their media, their press at Maxima and down at Radio Geni in Nogales, Sonora. Their organization, the president, Ms. Rangel, seated here. Vice President Maria Elena, also seated. Secretary Erika, Treasurer Raul, and then all the other people who provide a service. The survey we talked about, so we did the immediate area, 30 homes were surveyed or queried. 96.7 said, yeah, you know what, I think this is something we could actually use and utilize, especially knowing that the gymnasium had been shut down for pandemic reasons. A lot of things were shut down, and we were kind of eager to get them open. What we offer. Health and wellness. We got Zumba, Capoeira. That's a Brazilian type of martial arts dance. Basketball, yoga. I forgot to add yoga there. In fact, I think Commissioner Diaz there attends the yoga courses in the afternoons. Technology, computer lab, it's open. It's open. We have a couple hiccups. We got to get the internet back and running again, but we'll get that soon. So we'll get that going. Language, they're offering English courses. Little side note on the English course. In our directors meeting last week, HR was requested by one of the directors to see if we could actually provide staff with some English courses. I raised my hand and I go, send them my way. We got it going, right? It would be a matter of adding an additional day or something. So we're wanting to provide that service, not just for everybody outside, but internal as well. We want to do that. And of course, our citizenship courses.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes, sir.
on those courses and all that, what days of the week, what time frames, how can people find out when and where, where I know it's there, but time frames, time and what courses are being
Absolutely.
offered.
So the commit or the group actually has a Facebook page, which is pretty much the biggest media outreach source that this community enjoys. And the website, or I'm sorry, the Facebook page is up there. It's got the dates, the times, the courses, everything you need to be on there, aside from flyers. We do have a phone that people can call to get directions, times, and everything as well. So we've done a huge outreach thing. Currently, I think our followers are up in the 500 region or close to it. So the word is getting out. So if anybody's out there is listening or interested, research Centro Comunitario Binacional, Nogales, and you should get that hit and go straight to the Facebook page. Again, Facebook seems to be the outreach source around here. So we went with that.
Can we make sure it's on the city webpage?
Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah. And that way people know about it. Do you have a capacity limit?
Actually, right now, the only thing that does have capacity limits is because you got to manage the students, would be the English course and the citizenship course, because it can only handle so much. Usually that's capped off at 12, and it's been consistent at 12. We have not turned anybody away. If we get 13 one day, 14 another, it is okay. But if the demand is higher, we'll double up on the courses. We will do whatever it is we can to be able to continue with this.
What is the Facebook called?
What's the name of the page?
Marilena, Susana, el Facebook,
Está como Centro Comunitario Los Nogales.
Los Nogales.
Y ahí aparece. Centro.
Centro Comunitario Los Nogales.
Yes.
And of course, at the Housing Authority, we don't have a Facebook page. That's something that we've been talking about with the Residential Advisory Board, and it's in the works to create it. I just got to marry it to the archiving software that IT uses. So that's in the works as well, and this will be published on that as well.
Okay.
The future, endless. We're open to provide a service. We're open to do a lot of things. And I say we're providing the home for this, and we want everybody to benefit from it. So if commissioners, or flip the hat, council, mayor, have any ideas, by all means, send them our way. We'll be able to figure out something. That's a guarantee. And if we can't, we'll say why. And we might be able to find a way to get it going, but it probably won't be immediate. But yes, definitely any ideas are, we're receptive to them.
I've had calls on the basketball. When do you offer the basketball? Now, also on maybe you utilizing or being able to use your gym by coaches or school coaches and stuff like that. Is that available?
It is available, Mr. Chairman. The caveat to that, and I want to be clear about this, the caveat to that is that, number one, it's got to be endorsed by the Residential Advisory Board, which shouldn't be a problem. Number two, it's got to be open to my tenants as well. So if little Johnny shows up one day and wants to play basketball, that individual shouldn't be shunned away, right? Because he's not part of the league or part of the group, part of the team. And if there's any fees associated with that, they need to be waived, because the gym belongs to the people of the Housing Authority, not us. We manage it. And if the people of the Housing Authority say, no, Robert, I can't, I'll say, hey, this is why, but let me go back. And we'll figure it out. But again, this is not a public venue. It's a private venue owned by the Housing Authority. And there's a little bit of confusion there, but I think we all understand. But we did host a Zumbathon as a fundraiser a couple weeks ago for an individual who's battling cancer, and we did a fundraiser for them. 100% of the proceeds went to that to offset some of their medical costs. I hosted the Taekwondo certification a couple weeks as well ago, and the Taekwondo people came to certify the kids. They got their certifications. They're all happy. We were able to host them. Again, no cost other than the fee to get the certification, which goes to them, but not through us. So those are the things that I got to juggle around with. But basketball people, I've had a lot of requests. It's just, I just find it hard that it's for a select group of people that does not include my tenants, our residents. And that's where I get heartburn. It's got to be inclusive. It's their property.
And I think the mixed concept also comes because it used to be used by Parks and
It
Rec.
used to be. And Parks and Rec, actually, I just had, sorry to interject there, I just had a call from Renee this morning. She goes, we're doing and I'm really bad at this, I guess a league or a tournament or something. She goes, can we use the gym for practice? You know the rules, I said. If kids show up saying, can I learn how to shoot a basketball? They better be included. That's the rule. It's their gym. That's all I ask. So, be inclusive.
On certain groups that use the gymnasium, do you ask for liability insurance or a waiver?
So currently, we are working on that. In fact, I had drafted up one with Mr. Massey that probably needs revision, and I'll talk to Mr. Machado about it. But absolutely, yes. On certain things, these liabilities can be waived for a lot of reasons, especially when we're talking about an IGA. For instance, Mexican Consulate's office is working with the City of Nogales and the Housing Authority. I think we have a clear understanding as to who's liable and who's not. The private people know that this is coming, and they know that I will require a liability insurance. Some of them carry it already. In fact, all of them carry it already. There's one in particular who's just a sticker to the rules because she used to do it before. So she carries a liability, but I need to solidify it with lease agreements or use agreements or what have you, no different than what we did with Circles of Peace.
Go ahead, Commissioner. You done?
Mr. Thompson, two questions. Do these instructors charge?
No, they should not. However, there is something out there saying that one of the instructors has been charging, and I have a scheduled meeting with that individual, and I will ask him to be removed from the facilities. I cannot tolerate or will not tolerate that.
Okay. Right, I talked to Mr. Dickey about that.
Yes.
Okay. Then the other, the ladies that are using the gym, for example, the Zumba teacher or yoga teacher, are they responsible for cleaning before and after?
We ask them to do so. I try to provide as much as I can. Let me take a step back to budgeting. This is a non-dwelling unit, and I know Mr. Jorges can talk about this. This is a non-dwelling unit which sometimes doesn't get funded. So we got to figure out a way to do so. We provide the trash receptacles, trash bags, cleaning solutions, what have you. And some of these individuals clean as well. And they've told me, Robert, we clean. I said, thank you, guys. However, I do have staff designated as a janitor or custodian, who will be taking on those duties eventually. Once things get more solid and things get into a more fluid type of environment. But yeah, we will take on those duties.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Go ahead, Commissioner Doe.
The equipment, Mr. Thompson, the gym, is it kept in good condition?
Mike?
Is there any liabilities if it's not? If somebody gets hurt, using it? What's the status?
So, Mr. Doyle, we do have, there we go, Commissioner Doyle, we do have a company that used to come out and service them. Obviously, before pandemic, during pandemic, they were shut down. I need to designate funding for it to be able to do so. Once that gets done, we actually have an instructor ready to go and provide PT, physical training type of course. So before we even open the doors on that, I got to make sure they get inspected. You're absolutely right. But I got to find the funding for it to be able to do so. But yeah, and they're working. I mean, they are okay. They're dusty, but they're working. They might need a little bit of elbow grease and stuff like that, but they're okay to go. But then again, I'm not the fitness expert, obviously.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And Mr. Dickey, on the rec center here at the city, do we have somebody that goes there and resurfaces the gym floor, or do we contract somebody?
Council member, we probably do. I can't answer that right now. I don't know personally who it is, but I'm sure we do have someone that does. I don't know if John might have
So
Sounds like Robert might have the answer.
during CARES funding, when we opened the rec center for an immunization pod, point of distribution, part of that, I guess, cooperation or partnership was to resurface the Parks and Rec floor. So it's brand new laminated floor, year old.
Yeah,
Year and a half.
the county paid.
County pay for it through their CARES allocations.
So I was thinking maybe, I don't know if you have any funding to do the resurfacing on the, because it's got to be maintained on a yearly basis, I guess.
Right.
So I don't know if you can make some kind of MOU with the city or, well, what the housing is part of the city.
Right.
If we can share that maintenance agreement with the housing authority in the city that does the resurfacing for the
the
floors
gym.
and the gymnasium.
And we do
that's
have the
very
polish.
costly.
We do have the polish stored. It's just a matter of buying the equipment to do it. But we do have the polish.
Right.
If you turn on your mic,
One final question. Well, I was knocking on doors and running for city council. I was out in that section behind the middle school, close to beyond the cemetery, I guess. And I saw some elderly people, a couple of them, one lady that was probably in their at least mid-80s, maybe going to her 90s. And they were pulling weeds and whatnot. And I asked them, I said, do you have any problems with doing that? I said, do you need a hand? And she said, no. She says, we're used to it. How come you like to pull them? I said, you're not afraid of pulling something? And she said, no, they told us that we have to keep our area clean. And I didn't really ask more about it because I didn't want to interrupt her. She seemed to be, kind of looking at the weeds that were in their area, and she wanted them out. And the other gentleman, also an alderman, was giving her kind of a hand. So I figured, okay. But it stayed in the back of my mind. Doesn't housing have people that go out there and maintain the grounds or?
So a little bit off the agenda, but I'm happy to answer that question, Commissioner Doyle. Our housekeeping, landscaping rules state that every individual is responsible for their immediate area, front yard, backyard. That's theirs to maintain, theirs to upkeep. That's just no different than cleaning the inside, cleaning your kitchen, right? It's part of the dwelling. Common areas, absolutely. I have staff that goes out there and addresses the common areas. Open areas, voyeur, so what I'm looking for. Open common areas. We take care of those. However, any individual at the housing authority, any individual can ask for what's called a reasonable accommodation. And this is policy, not my policy. I don't create that policy. It's a HUD policy. Reasonable accommodation means you as an individual have not so much a disability, but something that prohibits you from being able to do yard work. They come in or they can call. We will listen to the reasonable accommodation, and if it applies according to the HUD rules, we'll be more than happy to give that accommodation to that individual and provide that service. So that's where there was confusion. Hopefully my tenants are listening to. Anybody who's elderly gets it automatically. They just got to pick up the phone and call. But we can't offer. They have to come to us, because then that puts me into a bind, right? I asked you if you needed an accommodation. You said no, so forth. And I forget to ask one person. So it's from the outside in. So yeah, to answer that question, we do provide that service. And when it comes down to the dwelling area, front yard, backyard, a reasonable accommodation is all it takes. It's one paperwork, one email, one phone call, one something for us to record it saying that Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so at such and such location asked for this accommodation.
Okay. So even if they ask us, can we get a little help? We can tell them, you can call.
Call us directly. call us directly and we'll be able to help. Of course, there's criteria, right?
Well, there's a lot of elderly. I mean,
Yeah.
That and
We
depends
have
the
a
age.
lot of elderly.
That and it depends the age.
We have a lot of elderly
It's-
and we'll get to the report in a little bit, but
right.
it's an
Anything
eye-opener.
else, Karen? Go ahead.
I would like to make a comment. I'm very, very proud of these people. They're doing a great job. When they first asked me about it, I thought, very well. I thought we're part of it. It's part of the community, and it's our responsibility to help them. And one of the persons that asked me first was Laura, the consulate from Nogales, Sonora, and she is involved also. So I really think it's part of our responsibility, and I'm more than glad and happy that we can help them. That's all.
I agree. Thank you. Anything else on the presentation of the Binational Community Center? We're running short of time, but director's report, Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Chairman, I've attached the director's report, statistical report, as you can see. We're meeting goals. Our housing choice voucher Section 8 program, we need to get those numbers up. The problem, the biggest hurdle there is lack of real estate. We don't have apartments. People in the private sector don't have. They're already rented, so that's the biggest hurdle. In fact, tomorrow, in your capacity as mayor, flip the hat around, we'll be having that discussion with some of our federal partners, a division of HUD coming down. So if anybody from the commission would want to attend, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be in this room. Just open discussion to figure out how we can build. Our issue here is development. We're lacking. So those numbers will come up. We're 100% at our project-based vouchers. If you can see number 7, I was talking about astonishing numbers. 60 families or applicants waiting for a 1-bedroom apartment. I can tell you that 99.9% of that is elderly, right? I never knew that till not recently, right? But I didn't know that from the outside in, from the inside out. We have a huge need for elderly, huge need. So hopefully that'll be a huge discussion tomorrow where we can get some funding directed our way, not to the housing authority, right? But something similar to like the Bowman, like Villa Paraíso, those light tech properties, the low income housing tax credit properties, get some of those people into the conversation and stir up the pot. So, there's more information here on projected projects. We'll talk about one in a little bit on the next resolution. Aside from that, it's a recap of what we just went about or talked about. So, and a little bit of success stories that we've done during the holidays. Any questions on the report?
Could you give me an update on the letter we got yesterday
Absolutely.
on the from the housing department on our our housing assessment system scores and all that?
Absolutely. So the FOSSCORE, the Public Housing Assessment System, gave us a substandard score. This is a result of the REAC inspection dated January of 22, I'm sorry, but that was for the fiscal year of 21. Why was it done in 22 and not in 21? Because of COVID. There were waivers, and I spoke about this either January or February of last year as to the results, the roadmap, the roadmap we were going to follow, the changes, funding requests, and so forth. I'm lucky right now to have or be in the process of requesting funding from HUD to tackle these ongoing deficiencies that have been recorded over and over and over for years. I'm talking years. Bad fencing, broken bricks on the walls, asphalt, repaving, broken sidewalks, lifted sidewalks, overgrown trees that we need to clip, trim, or just get rid of. A lot of things. So, in having that conversation with Martha this morning, actually, she brought up a really good concern. She goes, Robert, I don't understand why this letter went out, but I had to send it out. And I go, please tell me. She goes, if we look into PIC, the database we use throughout all housing authorities and HUD, our score is 67 on the record. HUD triggered this. So I'm going, Marta, can we get clarification? Is there an underlying factor as to why it was triggered? She goes, I'll get you that answer, man. But until then, let's get on the roadmap. So in February of last year, we created that roadmap. In fact, I had the operations individual, Mr. Herb Chung, come down in May or June. I forget what month. He came down. He made sure that our work orders were being followed, our inspections were being followed, our turnarounds were being followed, and our CFPs, our capital funding projects or programs, were modified or followed. And that's what we're going to talk about at our next resolution. So the roadmap has been in place. It just hasn't been looked at. At least that's what I understand. We did have a site visit. He left pretty pleased, and I think I reported that in July of last year. And what HUD is asking us to do is things that we have had in place. It just took them a while to get the paperwork. That's my understanding as of this morning. I'm sure there will be a lot more detailed conversations in the days to come. But in the meantime, I need to redraft the plan that we put in place back in February, cookie cut it, modify it, detail it out, probably a little bit more, send it out. So it shouldn't take that long to do the turnaround on that map, on exactly what we're being asked to do. We've been doing it. We're waiting for the 2022 calendar year assessment. It hasn't happened. Typically, they happen in January, or at least that's been my understanding. And one thing that I do want to say is the 21 assessment was compiled out of 2019, 2020, and 21. It was 3-year shot because of the pandemic. So we had a lot. And like I said, in my response or an email that I sent to the city manager this morning, I take that as a challenge, and I take that as a blueprint, a roadmap as to what we need to fix. Enough of the guessing game. We know where we need to go, and let's just get there and get it done. And we will be addressing some funding right now and some more funding in the future. So that third Tuesday meeting is perfect.
Go ahead, Commissioner Marcus.
I noticed that one of the findings was for safety deficiencies, and there's one that says mold and mildew. And I also saw the attorney's report that you made a claim
Yes,
for mold.
for mold.
Is that going to solve this problem?
So that'll solve that problem and a lot more. It took a couple months to get the claim done. The city carries, or we carry $35,000, I believe, in mold coverage. We've never used it. It's there. Let's use it. So Thursday, the adjuster and the adjuster who will again give us a roadmap or a blueprint as to how we're going to go for remediation is coming down. So we've set the whole morning to visit 6 of these units that are tagged as mold or having mold. That did not stop us from going out there and using your over-the-counter type of remediation supplies. They work. It's just a Band-Aid, right? So you spray them, it dies, you clean it, but it's got a potential to grow. So we actually need an actual remediation company, and that's what they're here to do on Thursday. We'll figure out where we need to go after that. And I have no issues, unless Mr. Machado has any issues, of me filing a mold claim every year. We have it, and it's not really a claim. It's part of our insurance. It's like free glass repair.
Okay. Commissioner.
Just a very quick question. I know that you had a lot of experience when you came in as housing director, from what I understand. And you say that now you have a roadmap. Did you not have a roadmap before?
So if you recall, we had 3 housing directors prior to me going there, and it was on, off, on, off. So the roadmap, which is the 5-year action plan,
Yeah.
contained much needed enhancements or repairs. However, they're not at the forefront. And we need to re-obligate those and put them to the forefront so we can continue with that. We lacked consistency for several years at the housing. I think the last consistent director was Mr. Bojorquez, and he retired, I don't know, 10 years
But you've
ago. or
been here
something.
for, how long have you been as a director now?
I'm sorry?
How long have you been as a director now?
A year and a half.
That's plenty of time.
Absolutely.
That's plenty of time.
Absolutely. Not disagreeing.
Yeah.
The opportunity now is through budgeting, and that's where I sit right now. So,
Do you have enough, do you have time to run the housing authority?
absolutely.
Okay, so this should be all corrected, right?
This will be corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, most of this has been corrected.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Let's move on. You know, we do have the 30 days. We got to get on this, you know, proposed recovery plan. So it is very important to us, the city, and our housing program to be back on the good faith.
Absolutely. And for all we know right now, Mr. Chairman, is we're still at a we don't know because one system says one thing, the other one says something else. So
Okay.
once we figure it out, we'll
Whatever it is, let's get on
absolutely,
top of it, please.
absolutely.
Thank you. Moving on to resolution, number 7, resolutions. Consider possible action of Housing Resolution 2023-0101, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authorities of the City of Nogales approving an amendment of capital funds project exterior painting and caulking capital grant AZ 20P 23501-23. 21. So move. Second. Any discussion? Comments? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Any future agenda items on housing?
Just an
For me, it's
update on the.
update on our report.
Absolutely.
You know, obviously, we want to be out of trouble.
And I know I'll probably send that out to the commission.
The
through
more time
Mr.
you
Dickey.
have, the better.
Yeah, through Mr. Dickey, I'll send that out after it's been approved by HUD, and we can certainly discuss that at our next scheduled meeting. Definitely.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Can we have an update on the Section 8 program and see how many vouchers are being occupied and how many are out on the,
So it is in our director's report. It's written in there. I can go through that really quick. 172 vouchers. However, we had lost 2 through fatalities. Again, we are absent of developments to be able to house people. So we are 32 vouchers not in use. And what I mean by not in use, it means they're not, the subsidies aren't being used. However, we do have people out there looking for homes. They just can't find any. And we're at 100% our project based at Bowman.
all right, thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? No. Well, I move to adjourn. Second. Meeting's adjourned.